Welcome to the Sharpe Way show. It is 7:15 on the East Coast. So glad you're able to join me again this evening, guys. It is amazing that we are able to keep doing this. It's great. So please like, comment, share. I know I say it every time, but I don't always see people clicking those buttons like you're supposed to. So please click those buttons so the algorithms see what we're doing. And so now we get more people to watch and to engage and to talk. The thing that I want to bring up today, it's got multiple facets to it. It isn't just one thing. It's a couple things. And it's a video from a couple of years ago. However, stuff has kind of come full circle today, showing a lot about eminent domain, how the government responds and acts, and all those things. The thing I'm talking about today is the idea of eminent domain. Some of you probably know this. You more libertarian guys and gals know it more than most. Eminent domain is the idea that the government can just take stuff, literally take your land, decide, I'm taking your land. The issue is, it doesn't matter if it's Trump or if it's Biden or if it's whomever, if it's Governor Cuomo, your local guy or gal in your local area, government decides it needs your land, it takes it. That's the problem, right? That's the issue. And it can just take your land. And a lot of people thought that, well, it would be different if this guy is in charge or that guy is in charge. No, not really. For those who remember during my campaign in 2018, I was against the eminent domain uses in Utica to put the hospital downtown. And literally 30 to 40 businesses got removed and people's land got taken by the government. And you got what the government decided to give you, or you got nothing. You're losing your land anyway. Goodbye. Pack your trash. Bulldozing your home. They bulldoze nonprofits. They bulldoze everything to put a hospital in, literally to give a private company land. Now, in the case I'm going to show you now, it's not a private company. It isn't, going to do it at all. So it's not just about private. It's about many things, many things. So I got people commenting. I appreciate the comments already, guys. I do love it. Logan, you're the first. Thank you, my friend. Hi, appreciate that. Kevin says, hating Biden is easy. Admitting the problem is that capitalism needs a clown is not. I'm not sure what you mean by needing a clown. I'm not sure we're going with that, Kevin. And I don't hate Biden. I never did. Don't. I didn't hate Trump either, though. So I don't hate either of them. So I don't know where you're going with that. I'm not sure. A lot of people do hate Biden. People hate Trump, too. So I think it's easy no matter what. And Anthony says, love your commentary, Larry. Helps clear through the hazy BS. Excellent. I love that. Excellent. All right. Let me grab, let me show you what I mean by this. This is from 2018. However, I'm telling you, there's a story that keeps going. Let me make sure I have the right audio for this too. I want to make sure you guys can hear everything. And off we go.
You grow up in this country, you go to public school, you may learn about eminent domain.
Yep.
But until you're in the crosshairs of the government,
Absolutely.
You don't understand how it really works. They invoke it and they take your land and they do what they want.
100%. Absolutely.
We have spent the last 16 years revegetating, returning to a native landscape in both cultivated gardens and...
Now, in this case, as she's talking about, she's like a nonprofit. She's trying to do the right thing. She cares about butterflies, and she's creating what she considers a butterfly haven. Good for her. But the government doesn't care. In this case, it was Trump. But it goes to Biden, too. But in this case, it was Trump saying, oh, we want a border wall. So I guess you're in trouble. But Tommy Brown brings up, it's not just state or federal. It's local level, too. It's all over. Absolutely. Tommy's correct. I've seen it locally. I've seen it all over the place. Aaron says a question on whether or not we should even allow for eminent domain. We shouldn't. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. If I were to accept any rule of eminent domain, here would be my rule if I had to. When there is obvious harm if we don't. That is how the only way that I would say we could do eminent domain. if there's obvious harm if we don't. And clear, like if I don't do eminent domain, Aaron is going to die. Okay, that's obvious harm. Then maybe I would be okay with it. But that would be my bar. That would be my bar to get over. It must be obvious, not maybe, not assumed, could be. No, it must be obvious. We don't do it, Aaron dies. Okay.
Wildscape.
Mariana Trevino Wright is the director of the National Butterfly Center, which is located near the U.S. border with Mexico and is home to the largest concentration of butterflies in North America.
Nice? This is the best place in North America to observe butterflies and to enjoy them.
Owned and operated by the North American Butterfly Association, or NABA, this 100-acre private wildlife refuge is part of the Rio Grande Valley Conservation Corridor.
Look at that.
Where the last flora and fauna native to the region are preserved. As pollinators of local plants, the butterflies are vital to the valley's ecosystem.
We need our native plants, we need our butterflies, and that's
important,
what
right?
NABA is all about.
Yeah, but that's not going to work.
Great Wall along the southern border.
The Butterfly Center is directly in the path of Donald Trump's border wall, a project that's all...
Now, I want to bring this up. Donald Trump's border wall. Don't forget that. That's what he calls it. But guess what it is now? It's Biden's border wall. The border wall hasn't gone away. There's still a border wall. And we're still building it. It hasn't stopped. And we're still seizing land. So Biden's doing it too. So for all of you who are like, that's okay, Biden will be better. No, he won't. No, he's doing it too.
Ready moving forward here in the Rio Grande Valley. In the 2018 omnibus spending bill, Congress authorized one component of the project, a 33-mile section of fencing running through the valley. The dividing structure will be built on top of a levee that runs through the Butterfly Center. The levee has an easement that allows the government to add fencing without permission from the surrounding landowners.
Without permission. I want you to be clear on that piece. So somebody said without permission. That's the part that's a problem. Right? That's a part that's a problem. Without permission. They don't have to give them anything, just sorry, put up a land.
Levy fence to exploit language in the easement that they think makes it legal for them to install an immigration barrier in the levee easement.
70% of the Butterfly Center's land is on the river side of the levee.
Look at that.
So it's still on the U.S. side of the border. But the placement of the new wall will make that property contiguous with Mexico and difficult for Wright and her staff to access.
And the border wall is doing what General Santa Anna could not do 150 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
He couldn't push the border of Mexico north of the Rio Grande River.
Yes. Eminent domain is terrible because it affects average people. But Christine brings up eminent domain often happens when new freeways are built. Yeah. And it also it often crushes poor people. Yeah. It crushes poor people because poor people very often don't have the ability to influence politics. They don't have the cash or the connections or anything like that to influence it. So you're poor, eminent domain, we're taking your land, your area, and building a highway or whatever it is. And guess what? Good luck. Hope you find a new house. That's it. So 100% correct. Still happens, but happened a lot more in the past with that.
And that is what the border wall is doing.
Mm-hmm.
The government is also planning to clear up to 200 yards on one side of the levee to establish a control zone for monitoring illegal entrance. And it's prepared to seize that land using eminent domain.
You grow up in this country, you go to public school, you may learn about eminent domain.
I want you to hear what she just said. They're going to literally just seize land. Just take it. You worked for this. It's your home. Now, in this case, it isn't her home. It isn't. In that case, it isn't her home, right? But I mean, and maybe she lives there, but still, it's her property, it's her land, right? Chris says, "What's the solution then? Just have an open border?" No, of course not, Chris. Of course not. I've spoken about my solution more than once, multiple times. I've talked about my solution, and that is creating an environment to where people can come to our Ellis Islands that I've discussed in the past, so that the average person doesn't bother trying to cross the border like that. They go to the Ellis Islands, and only the bad guys are the ones who try to cross the border. That's it. What does that mean? We can now patrol the border effectively to only get the bad guys. So yeah, would she have to let some law enforcement on her border, on her property once in a while? Sure, she'd have to do that. And sadly, I guess that's the law is they can. So she'd let some law enforcement across her border once in a while. Or maybe she put some, she'd make an agreement with them. I'm not gonna, I don't want you to come on my land, but instead I'll put surveillance cameras on my land that you guys can monitor for people crossing the border. There are absolutely ways that you can still control your border without having to take people's land. The problem is they're saying, I want a wall, I'm taking your land. Chris, I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with that. Right? I'm not okay with them just doing that. Now, Chris, patrolling the border means more manpower, which equates to more tax dollars. It does not. We have massive amounts of people right now on the border. So if we created our Ellis Island plan that I talked about, the vast majority of people who are coming to our country would be going through the Ellis Islands. We'd be able to keep track of them, make sure they don't have diseases, make sure they're not bad guys. Absolutely. There'd be a whole lot fewer problems. So what does that mean? You don't have to take your border guys and gals and sit them, and have them detain, 14 people every 2 days. Of course not. Instead, they're going after just bad guys. So there are ways of doing it. You can be more effective without spending even one extra dollar. Is it challenging? Yes, it is, Chris. It's hard. You're right. Not impossible, and the right answer. It is not impossible, and so the right answer. And of course, Chris brings up, thank you, Chris, for this, maybe privatize. There are tons of citizens who would be happy to enjoy, some time, down there, training, having the civilian population assist. Why not? Why not? Absolutely. Why not?
But until you're in the crosshairs of the government, you don't understand how it really works. They invoke it and they take your land and they do what they want.
But Naba's not the only one threatened by eminent domain.
Yep.
Rey Ansaldúa is descended from Spanish settlers who, in the 1700s, were awarded land grants in the valley, totaling about 18,000 acres.
Now, this part is actually his family land, right? The other person was a cool, butterfly place, which is nice. I like it, right? This is this guy's house. This is a home.
Out of those 18,000 acres, now we probably have no more than 150 acres.
That's a big difference.
So that's a lot of land to lose, and here they come again with this border wall.
Ansaldúa's first cousin, Fred Cavazos, and Fred's sister, Eloisa Cavazos, both live on a portion of the family's property that will be cut in two.
Again,
the house where the Cavazoses live will end up on the U.S. side of the wall, but much of their land and rental properties fall on the Mexican side, making them so difficult to access, they'll likely become worthless.
I retired 5 years ago. I taught
not
for
anymore.
40 years, and this is my income that I use for my retirement.
So the sad part about this one is now the government's coming through and taking, and not necessarily taking the land, but they are. They're just cutting the land in half with a border wall. Now, when they purchased the land or owned the land, without question, they didn't believe that, one day someone's going to put a fence across my land, changing everything. Now, does, maybe, bad things can happen through nature or that kind of thing? Sure. But do you expect your own government to do this to you? You should. Now, I'm using this as an example of the border wall, just because for a secondary reason that I talked about earlier. And I'll say it now. This family, they tried to fight. They tried hard to fight, and they lost. And they voted for Biden. I'm not joking. These people, they did a follow-up 3 years later now, and these people voted for Biden, thinking, okay, Biden will save us. That's his actual words. I thought Biden would save us. That's what he thought. And guess what happened? No. Biden also didn't care about, he's still building a wall. He hasn't stopped. Trump's wall's still getting built. Now, I guess, does Biden call it the Biden wall? I don't know. Does he just pretend it doesn't exist? Whatever Biden says. So now there's another wall going up. And this was taking the land. Biden didn't stop eminent domain at all. In fact, he was okay with it. He's fine with eminent domain. He's fine with taking people's land. And what I'm saying is taking land Government taking land should always be the absolute last resort, even if it's difficult. And Chris is talking about how it's hard, might cost more money. He could be right. I'm not saying Chris is wrong. I'm just saying you can't just take people's land. It's got to be the absolute last ditch. There's no other option. And if we don't do it, there's going to be harm, and obvious harm. If it's not obvious harm, if we don't do it, why are we taking people's land? I don't get it. It completely is the wrong answer.
Building the 200-yard control zone will mean leveling the livestock pens and additional rental properties belonging to the Cavazos family.
This lot
There
was
we go.
about 10 acres and 2 barns and 3 houses. So when they asked me, can you help me, cousin? I said, yes, I got ties to this land too, just like you do. Because this is our grandmother's land.
Ansaldúa is expecting the government to make an offer to buy his cousin's land, but if the family declines, the government can move to take it anyway through.
Yes. So they say, we'll give you, I don't know, $1.50. Hey, yeah, about that. I don't want $1.50. Oh, well, bye.
Eminent domain.
Every time we turn around, somebody's trying to take land from us. And they say, well, it's for the good of the community. Well, what about our own good? I mean, who's compensating us for all this land that we're losing?
Yeah, let me grab that piece if I could. I know that the rules are that if you take land, and Vince brings this up, there has to be just compensation, right? The question is, who is deciding what just compensation is? Sadly, it's often the local authorities or the cronies who are trying to get it at the lowest price so they can take advantage of it. That's the sad part, right? So I'm buying your car, Vince, and I'm deciding what just compensation is. Yeah, I'm a little bit biased, as you would imagine. I'm a little bit biased in this case. And that's what's happening. You bought your car for whatever, 10 grand or whatever your car costs. And now the book value is whatever, 8 grand. And you want 8 grand for it. And I go, you know what? I'm going to give you just compensation. I think that's $4,000. Why? And if you don't take it, I'm the government. I just take your car anyway. So take my $4,000 or not, I'm taking your car. And that's what's happening now. That's how that's working. So I agree with you. It's supposed to be just compensation. But how do you decide how you do that? Right? I'm not sure. So in any case, it's pretty bad. Let me keep going if I can here. Christine says, not only did Biden not stop taking land, he's created a crisis of epic proportions at the border. Yes, but the children now aren't in cages. They're in containment facilities. Way different, Christine. Totally different. Way different. I was unhappy back then when I didn't like when Obama was putting kids in cages. I didn't like when Trump was putting kids in cages. And I don't like when Biden's putting kids in cages. We can find a better way. Yes, it's hard. Oh my God, it's a pain. Yes, but we can do it. And we're not doing that at all. What we've done is we've taken the Trump policies that so many Democrats hated. We put Biden's name on it and go, oh, well, that's good policy now. Why? Well, it's got Biden's name on it. Yeah, but it's the Trump policy. Yeah, but it's got Biden's name on it. So way better. So way better. Anthony says overflow facilities. That sounds even better. See, you should be writing for him, Anthony. Maybe you might be a good job for you. Absolutely. 100%. So Chris says the separating children comes 1994. Actually, Chris, I don't remember when it started. So I'm not doubting you. I don't remember when it started. I became aware of it under Obama. That's when I became aware of it. So I don't know when it actually started, but I got to tell you, I wasn't mad in 94 because I didn't know. So I found out under Obama. I wasn't happy then. I wasn't happy when Trump kept it. And I'm unhappy now that Biden kept it. We can find a better way. And we're just not. So Paula says, how do you feel about the state not taking land, but using people's land to drill for oil/gas if the oil companies are paying market price for the minerals? This happens. Minimal right owners get paid, but they don't have a choice but to sell. Logic is energy is good for the public. I'll go back to what I always say, Paula. Unless the damage is obvious. Say, for example, and I'm making this up. I just so you understand my view. Let's say, Paula, you have land and there's natural gas under your land and there's a natural disaster brewing under your land because of tectonic plates, you live in that area where the tectonic plates move. And if the government doesn't take your land and drill, there might be some kind of explosion or thing like that where people will be killed. And you're like, I don't care, I'm not leaving. In that case, and that specific case, if the government doesn't act, there will be obvious harm. In that case, I'm open to a discussion of eminent domain. I am. If that's the case, and I made this case up to show you what I mean. If there is obvious damage or pain, if we don't do it, then yes. But because oil is good for the world, that's not a good enough answer for me. There must be obvious harm if we don't do it. If that is my line, obvious harm, that's my issue. So I hope that was clear. I'm not okay with that at all because there's not obvious harm. People aren't dying or there's no explosion or things like that. So yes, I hope that answers your question. So the terrible thing about how they determine just compensation is that it's far less than value, which they assess your taxes. Brian, you've hit it perfect. That's right. So they'll tax you at $1 million, but just compensation is $500,000. Yeah, if you're lucky, 100%. If you're lucky, totally true, totally true. So anyway, let me go a little bit further here.
This is enough. We're going to fight. It might be a losing battle, but we're still going to fight it.
But fighting could backfire on the Cavazos family and the Valley landowners. In 2008, when the Bush administration was building an immigration barrier in the neighboring town of Brownsville, the Department of Homeland Security exploited loopholes in the law meant to protect property owners. And
meant to protect property owners. And this is a problem that we have in our legal system in general. In general, here is a problem that we have. And lawyers will tell you this, judges will tell you this. They literally will say, when you look at a law or rule, they will say, it doesn't matter what they meant. It matters what they wrote. I am against this idea. And I know, Larry, that opens up different stuff. Yes, that's why we have judges. And that's why you have, changes in rules and amendments. And that's life changes. People change. But the point is, what were they trying to achieve? If you know the law was meant, the goal was to protect private property, and now you're a judge and you see some company or some government agency using it to destroy private property, you go, well, that's the law. That's stupid. That's harmful. That's a bad idea. You know it was made to protect it, so then interpret it to protect it.
in each case invoked a so-called declaration of taking, which is a way.
Ooh, come on, that is good. Declaration of taking. I'm not stealing. I have this declaration of taking. Clearly, I'm not stealing. It's look, declaration of taking. So you have nothing.
To expedite the eminent domain process. Today, landowners.
The land is condemned and taken for the use of government. Look at that. So you just condemn it. I like that. You just condemn it. Oh, that land you had, Chris? Condemned. Why? Because I'm government and I can do it. So I condemn it and now I'll just take it. That's amazing. And I won't steal it because stealing would be wrong. So you see right here, I have this declaration of taking. Now we're good.
Are still fighting for what they consider just compensation for the land they lost a decade ago.
There are still 90 lawsuits open now because their land was taken with no compensation.
Look at that. No compensation. They condemned it and took it. No compensation. No compensation. Well, you know, Trump is evil. Bush was doing it. Obama was doing it. Trump kept doing it. And Biden's doing it now. They all do it. And I know everyone goes, oh, Trump's evil or Trump's awesome or Trump's this. No, he's the same as the rest of them. He was doing it and they're all doing it and Biden's still doing it. And the part that bothers me about this a little bit more, I'm a little bit angrier at Biden. You know what? It's funny. Maybe I'm a little bit angry at Biden. I don't hate him, right? I don't hate him, but I'm a little bit angry at Biden. And maybe that's what Kevin was talking about, the feeling, because I am a little bit angry at Biden because Biden preached that he was so different. I mean, wasn't that his entire campaign? His whole campaign was, I'm not Trump. That was his entire campaign. What's your policy on this? I don't have one. I'm not Trump. Okay, what about your policy on this? I don't have one of those, but I'm not Trump. That was his entire campaign. And now he's still doing some Trump stuff. Just like Trump did Obama stuff. Just like Obama did Bush stuff. Yeah, they're presidents. They're in that world. And as Dave says, it's not stealing when the government does it. That's true. That's true.
90 lawsuits still open
90.
from almost 10 years ago. And
Now, let me ask you, if you decide to sue the government and you've got to wait 10 years to get your answer, but you've lost your land for 10 years, how do you recover if you're a small guy? You can't. You're a mega corporation? Mega corporation, they can't even take it because you put them in court longer than they can put you in court, right? Because you have a ton of funds too. So you fighting each other, you make a deal because the government knows it can't fight you and win. So you make a deal. So you get higher compensation because you're already wealthy. I know that sounds crazy, but you do. You get higher just compensation because you're wealthy, because you can fight toe to toe with the government in a legal battle. You might lose, you might win, but you're going to suck up all the time and the energy and money of the government. So they'll say, fine, we'll pay you more. Just don't fight us. But you're a little guy. You can't fight the government. It's impossible. They know that. So just we're taking your stuff, see you in court, and you'll eventually lose anyway.
that's what will happen again now.
Further strengthening the power of the executive branch to seize land in the Rio Grande Valley is the Real ID Act. Signed by George W. Bush in 2005 as part of the administration's war on terror, it allows...
See, it's the war on terror. I keep telling you how much I hate all these wars. War on terror, war on poverty, war on drugs. All these wars on the things never fix the things. The war on poverty didn't fix poverty. The war on terror didn't fix terror. The war on drugs didn't fix drugs. So none of the wars ever work, but they do one thing. They give the government a reason to take more of our rights away. All three of those did.
Allows the government to waive almost any law impeding the construction of...
Any law to waive all legal requirements. The Secretary of Homeland Security shall have the authority to waive all legal requirements. How is that a thing? Like, how is that signed? So the Secretary of Homeland Security is a god. All hail Homeland Security Secretary. He can do whatever he wants. Why would we do that?
Barriers and roads for securing the border.
And there are 37 laws in the Real ID Act that the federal government waives for border wall construction.
See that?
They get to bulldoze tribal lands, grave sites, historical landmarks, religious sites. They do not have to abide by the Clean Air Act or the Clean Water Act. The government has exempted itself from all of the laws that govern.
So that we can build a wall instead of actually having a real issue to control our borders. There's a way to, I've talked about it. How many times have you guys heard me talk about the way you can control borders without having to do all of this? It is harder, but rights matter. So sometimes the government's going to have to work harder. We as a people are going to have to work harder so that we can respect people's rights. Yeah, that's true. So let's do that. I'm okay with that. Let's work harder to get what we want so that we can respect people's rights. Because if you respect people's rights, they'll be on board with it. They'll be like, yeah, I know it's hard, but I'm in. Let me help because you're respecting my rights. So let me help. That's how people are.
Govern our country. They've said they don't apply to us for this purpose.
Not to you.
One historic landmark that is no longer protected,
they're knocking down churches.
The Real ID Act is La Lomita Chapel. Built in 1865, it sits on a plot of land that will be incorporated into the control zone.
It will be incorporated into the control zone. It won't be stolen. Don't say that. It's not going to be stolen. Stop, Chris. It's not being stolen. It's being incorporated. That's what it's being. Way different. That's not stolen. It's incorporated.
The city of Mission, Texas is named for this old mission on the banks of the Rio Grande River. It is a chapel that is in use every day, all day by members of our community. Mass is still given there.
So that freedom of religion thing, you don't get freedom of religion. I got a wall to build. Taking your church. Bye.
This is where we worship as children. This is where my parents worship. This is where my grandparents worship. This is where my great-grandparents worship. So it's got a lot of significance for us.
It does.
And we hate to lose this. We would hate to lose it.
Construction on the project hasn't started yet.
It
but
will.
Customs and Border Protection are a constant presence in the area. Federal immigration law gives the agency the authority to search and patrol private property within 25 miles of the border without obtaining a warrant.
So now you don't even get warrant protection. You don't get your 6th or 4th Amendment rights now because you happen to live within 25 miles of a border. We have that in New York State too, by the way, right? Not only there's a border in North too. For some of you who don't know that, there's a border upstate up North too, border on Canada, and you live within 25 miles Canadian border. Same thing. They just come into your house. Yes, they can literally kick in your door anytime they want without a warrant. If you live within 25 miles of the border, you can't go, come back with a warrant. They go, no, open up your door now or we shoot you. That's how that works. That's how that works now. So you lose your rights again. Well, Larry, how are we going to, search the area for illegal immigrants if we don't, do this? I have an idea. Have a better system so illegal immigrants don't go into people's houses. And if some illegal immigrants in there and the people want you to come in there and get them because they're under hostage or whatever, they're going to tell you, come in. They're in that room. Go get them. In which case you need a warrant because they're asking you to come into their home. This doesn't make any sense. This is just deciding within 25 miles of a border, now we can do whatever we want. And this is under the war on terror because I guess Al-Qaeda people might slide across the border and live in her house or something. I don't know. It's just another law made out of fear that takes away our rights and is unnecessary, not required, takes away our rights, and we accept it. We accept that when you live 25 miles from the border or less, you don't get your 4th or 6th Amendment rights. You don't get property rights. They just take it.
24 hours a day, we are occupied by Border Patrol, both physically and virtually. They drag tires, they have drones and helicopters, they have agents on foot, on bicycle, on dirt bike, on horse, on four-wheeler, and SUV, on boat, on our shores, every kind of presence you can imagine. Then they have planted motion-activated sensors on our property. They have installed 24.
Now, see, this is the issue. See, and this is what it bothers me right there. This goes to what Chris was talking about earlier. Do you think if they came to her and said, hey, we need some help. Can we do some of this stuff and we'll compensate you? You know how many people would happily, eagerly do that? Happily. Imagine if you got, Dave, you got a property on the border and they come to you and say, look, we want to put some motion sensors on your property. It's going to be facing the Mexican border or Canadian border, whatever. We'll throw you a rental fee, whatever the fee, I don't know, whatever you would take, $500 a month, whatever. You'd be like, wow, $500 a month to keep it on there? All right, yeah, do it. You voluntarily do it. And even if you wouldn't, a lot of people would. And if you camouflage it well enough, then the people crossing the border won't know which houses have it and which houses don't, which means it still works because they won't cross that border there because they'll know there are motion sensors there. So they won't go. That's the idea of, I don't know if you know this, in many stores, if you go to a store, they'll have one of those domes in the ceiling that looks like it's a camera dome. And there's no camera there, but you can't tell because it's dark. They put the dome there to stop people from stealing. And it works. Statistically, they've done studies on this. It actually is it's deterrent of having a dome there without cameras is just as much deterrent if you do have a camera. But obviously, if you have a camera and someone steals something, you can catch them. If not, you can't. But the deterrent's the same. So you wouldn't even have to have everybody put those on. A couple, let the people across the border know we got it, catch a couple of people, and they wouldn't even know. And if people making a little bit of cash on the side, they would do it. But Larry, you going to spend extra money? No. Now I don't have to have as many border personnel because I've got people volunteering to throw these motion sensors on their land. One border control officer's got to cost at least $50,000 a year, maybe 100 or 200 for training and everything else. They do equipment. Take that $100,000, cut it in half, do $50,000, and give out $50,000 to the people on the borders in that area that person will patrol. Right? Whatever area that person will patrol, take half of his or her salary, put it into motion sensors on that border to pay the people to have it there. Boom, you saved half your money. less people, everybody's happy. And if you don't want it, don't take it. Don't take the money. You don't want the money, don't take it. Easy day. This can be solved. It takes thought. It takes a way of going through this, but it takes one important thing, not falling back to the easy way of violence. The problem is violence is easy and it's a short-term solution. Need the land? Take it. Why come up with a plan to get people to voluntarily help you when I can just take their land? So I just take it.
Our video surveillance on our property.
Partly the Border Patrol is about maybe 3 or 4 times what it was even 5 years ago. So this border is pretty much militarized.
The government, however, does not have the authority at this point to enter and alter private property in preparation for the border wall. But
No.
Trevino Wright says she encountered a group of government
Oh,
contractors
it's already
on the
happening.
Butterfly Center's property
Already
clearing
happening.
foliage that had been planted to host butterflies.
And I was like, what are you guys doing here?
Yep.
And they're like, well, we're clearing this land. I said, my land.
They didn't like that.
And the young guy with the orange vest and the safety goggles and everything goes, I think I should call my supervisor. And I said,
You should do that.
think you should do that too.
That's a good plan.
A few days
Good plan.
later, Manuel Padilla, the chief Border Patrol agent for the Rio Grande Valley, paid the Butterfly Center a visit.
Mhm.
He showed up unannounced with no appointment in plain clothes and
Because he doesn't have to. You're within 25 miles of the border. He doesn't have to have an appointment nor a warrant. He shows up on your property because your property isn't actually your property.
his
You thought it was.
attaché and a uniformed agent.
Padilla presented plans for the border wall to Trevino Wright, and according to her account, he said the contractors would be back, this time accompanied by a green uniformed presence.
And
Yeah.
so I asked him about that later. Do I understand you correctly that you are sending armed federal agents onto
Yes.
private property to
Yes.
protect your contractors?
NABA
Look at that.
decided
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
to take legal action, suing the Department of Homeland Security and Customs and Border Protection.
Part of our lawsuit is that patrol, the definition of what is patrolling. And do they really have the ability to occupy our land? Our land, according to Border Patrol, is theirs to do with as they please.
Yes. Absolutely.
After the lawsuit was filed, Border Patrol sent a form letter to every property owner in the area, asking them for 18 months of irrevocable access so the agency can survey the land to prepare for construction.
18 months of irrevocable access. I'm going to come out in your land, do whatever I want for 18 months.
Many owners, including NABA and the Cavazos family, refused to sign.
And
No shit.
I just got word this week that the government has moved to dismiss our lawsuit.
Of course.
These issues will be sorted out in court, but regardless of the outcome, for the property owners of the Rio Grande
So let me move on from this piece. Just so you're clear. He lost his land. And as I said earlier, in a follow-up, Reason Magazine did a follow-up with this. And in the follow, they talk about, what they did, why they voted for Trump, they voted for Biden. They thought Biden was going to save them, blah, blah, blah. And no, did nothing. They lost it, all gone. The court rejected them. Of course they did. Government wins because big government always beats the little guy. They just do. I mean, there's a couple times when they don't, but it happens so often. It's absolutely crazy. Lepke B says, it happened to my family. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. My family owned land in Coney Island, and it was condemned and taken by the government to build the Coney Island houses housing project. Well, there we go. They just condemned. So we're taking it. So that is a thing that is used in many cities, right? And some of you may not know this. There's a thing in New York City, if I can get it right, it's called landmarking. You can voluntarily landmark your property, right? You decide, hey, I think my property is a special landmark because, somebody famous came here or something famous happened here or something culturally significant happened here. I would like to landmark my property. And landmarking means that once the local the municipality or state decides it's landmarked, then special rules apply anytime that people want to do any type of construction or change to your property. Now, I'm not against you deciding that you want to landmark your property to save it from people in the future, whatever. Because if you landmark your property and then you sell to somebody else, the property's still landmarked. So the person who buys it has to know this is landmark property. Do you want to buy it or not? But if you buy landmark property, you cannot make changes to that property unless the community agrees, rules and regulations, things of that sort. Sometimes in New York, they'll do that because they want to keep the flavor of the neighborhood. It means there can't be new construction, things like that. Some people want it done. And if you want to, it's your land, go ahead. That isn't my problem. My problem is the community can landmark your property for you, whether you want to or not. Yes. So you bought some property in Manhattan. You're like, good, I've invested. I got tons of money in this thing. And your community goes, I think that guy, Brandon, is about to build something there, and I don't like what he's going to build. So I'm going to go to my local community, and we're going to decide locally that we should landmark his property. And if the city agrees, Brandon's property gets landmarked. He didn't want to landmark it. It's landmarked now. So now Brandon has to decide, well, I want to make some changes. I want to, change it so that I can have a tenant, or I want to change it so it'll look better for people so I can raise rents, or whatever is the thing Brandon wants. And they go, no. I can't. No, you can't. Sorry, we landmarked it. You can't do it. But I can't make the money that I want. Oh, well, but I'm still liable for all the taxes. Yes, you are. And I'm liable for any problem that occurs because I didn't upgrade the property. Yes, you are. But you won't let me upgrade the property so it can be safer. That's correct. That's actually how it works. I'm not joking. That's literally how it works in New York City. So now Brandon may not change it unless other people tell him so. And if it is even dangerous, people get hurt. Doesn't matter. I guess you're getting sued, Brandon. Sorry. Guess you're getting sued because we're not letting you change it. Yeah, I need to make more money so I can pay the taxes. Too bad. Guess you're going bankrupt because you can't change it. We won't let you. That, and when I asked people, and I talked to people in the Department of Buildings about this, and I said, how is that okay? Like, how is it okay that some other people around you can decide your property's landmarked? Again, if you want to do it with your own land, good on you. I'm saying others who impose it upon you. And the guy was very forward. He goes, well, Larry, you don't understand. It's the law that we use for condemning buildings. And I said, no, I get that. I understand if you want to condemn a building, like the building is dangerous. New York City, a building might collapse. Thousands could die. That makes sense. That, again, goes to literally, if I don't fix a condemned building, thousands will die. If I don't act, there is obvious harm. I'm clear with that. I'm okay with that. If I don't act, there is obvious harm. Okay. I said, but where's the harm in landmarking? I get a building's going to collapse. Makes total sense. Okay. But no building's collapsing here. It's just property. And all he did was reiterate. He goes, Larry, it's the same law we use for condemning. And I repeated, I said, I get that. There's a victim there. And this is what I said to him. In the case of landmarking, who's the victim? Like, where's the person who's hurt? Where's the harm? He said, Larry, you don't get it. It's the same law. Because in his mind, if it was legal, it was fine. It didn't matter who it hurt. It didn't matter whose property was stolen. It didn't matter whose life was ruined. What if this is Brandon's last shot to make it big? He threw all his money into this property. And this has happened more than once. And now, landmarked. Sorry. All your money you had, hope you enjoyed it while you had it. Gone now. That's it. He went right to the same idea. It doesn't matter what they meant. It matters what they wrote. Clearly, landmarking was not used to be weaponized against your neighbor. Clearly, landmarking wasn't supposed to be used so that you could make sure your neighbor doesn't change because you want to keep your property values up because it's a quaint neighborhood. Landmarking was supposed to be for someone who says, this is a historical site, and New York City is an old city, as far as America is, obviously, as far as the world is now. But as far as America, New York City is an old city, established in the 1600s. So it's an old city. There's history here. So, of course, I get that. It makes sense. This is an old library that Benjamin Franklin visited or something. Let's landmark it. Okay. Not, that Brandon guy's a jerk. Let's landmark his place. I'm pissed. That's what actually happens. So thank you for that story, Lepke. I appreciate that. Yes. Let me keep going if I can. So Paula says, declaration of taking It's like a Declaration of Independence, only better. What can't the government do to us? Yes, I love that. I'll just see. I want to steal all your stuff, Paula, and I can't because that's against the law. It's illegal. But if I go get this declaration of taking, I can take all your stuff. So I'll just do the paperwork, so I can now go take all your stuff. The fact that I wanted your stuff and it's wrong doesn't matter. I'll do the paperwork, and then it'll be fine. Yes. So, Chris says, I also believe how we deal with the drug addiction is a source of quite a bit of the problems. I'm not sure if that was for me or not, but the drug problem is a big problem, right? One of the reasons, and there are many, but the biggest reason that so many people are flooding our border is not because of, they want to come here for the welfare or whatever. That's the biggest reason. Some people do, of course, but that's not the biggest reason at all. The biggest reason is we have terrible drug policy in Central America. We are putting pressure on those governments to act accordingly. And because of that, they now have drug wars all throughout their country. They're basically fleeing Chicago, right? They're fleeing gang warfare because we're the ones doing it because of our war on drugs. We change our drug policy, change it. Change our drug policy, absolutely changes it, 100%. So we can do this here, if I can. The Capitol building is eminent domain paid for by our tax dollars, and yet we are blocked from it. Ooh, there we go. Wow. Avi, thank you. It's true. Yes. Pathetic. Tear down the effing wall. Look, I'm not a fan of walls, period. I don't want walls around my capital. I don't want walls around our country. I don't want walls at all. What I would like to do is instead give people a realistic way of going to places they want to go to include us going to the Capitol, right? Us going to the White House. Why in the world am I taking, and how bad and how disconnected is our government if we have to wall our capital from ourselves, from Americans? Not like the British are coming again to take the capital again, or I don't know, the Chinese are invading or something. No, from us, Avi, from me and you. Our capital is walled. Why are we doing that? We're not foreign invaders. Sure, come on, it's crazy. I don't want to put a wall on a border either. I want to put two facilities on the border that the average person who just wants to work here can go to, get checked out, ensure they're okay, get their orange card, which I'm calling it the orange card, which is just a temporary work visa. We need to know what state you're going to, where you are. You check in every 2 years. If you don't, we come get you. If you do check in, great, pay your taxes. Don't go on public assistance. That's part of the rules. You got to pay taxes, and you may not have any form of public assistance. If you do, we get you, throw you out. Fine. If the jobs aren't there, the people won't come. If the jobs are there, we'll know, and we'll send people there. How do you pay for that? Government doesn't pay for that. You pay for that the same way recruiters get paid for, right? Those two Ellis Islands are run by two separate private companies, and those private companies get paid like a recruiter does. Avi, you need a worker? I send a worker to you. It's a legal worker with a work visa. He or she pays taxes. They may not get any type of public assistance, and they're working in your state. There we go. As long as they're working in your state, we're good. They don't have to stay with you. They got to stay in the state they say. If they move states, got to tell us. I'm not in New York anymore. I'm now in California. All right, tell us. Check in every 2 years. You're good. You're paying your taxes. You're not on public assistance. Life is good. You're public assistance. You're out. You didn't check in. We'll come to get you. Done. It's not crazy. It can be done. It's challenging, but can be done. I don't have to worry about it then. Yes, we don't have to worry about it. Eminent domain has been happening for a very long time. Yes, absolutely. Rose says most of the criminals in our country work for the government, but they get things like what's a certificate of taking, declaration of taking. Then it's okay. There we go. Dave says the entire Democratic Party campaign was, we don't have to tell you what we're going to do. Republicans are Nazis. That's all you need to know. That's pretty accurate, Dave. That's pretty accurate. And the problem I have is many of the things that the Republicans were doing when they were in charge, many of the Democrats are doing too. It's got a Biden sticker on it now. So now it's fine. Now it's fine. Hated it when Trump was doing it. Biden's doing it. Well, that's a cool sticker. This is Biden on it. Way better. I agree. Yes. So let's see. Biden was running as the antithesis of Trump. Yes. Biden is not even Trump's evil twin. He's just Trump's twinning. I like that. No, yeah, the thing I think you find is Biden isn't as decisive as Trump is, but Biden has more empathy. Biden talks nicer. He's a nicer talker, right? He talks like he cares. He talks and it makes you feel good. So he definitely talks better. He projects empathy far better than Trump did. Trump projected power better than Biden does. Different people in that regard. But they both want to move their own agendas forward. And if we're in the way, oh well. Oh well. So yes. Chris says the war on terror equals invisible enemies all the time. All the time. So I do want to bring up the police accountability survey, if I can. This is kind of about cops in a way. It's about Border Patrol, where they can go. How do we want to keep the cops accountable? You tell me. You tell me. Do me a favor. Head on over to this link right here that's in the description. The Police Accountability Survey to theadvocates.org. They are my sponsor. Click this link. Go there. Take that survey. Say what you feel. And then share it. Let other people know. And also you can check yourself against what other people think. Do most Americans do this test? Do they think like you? Do they not? Where's their head? And where's your head? Take this test, please. Finish it, complete it, and share it. It's free. Takes about 5 minutes of your time. So I'm going to take up about 5 minutes of your time. Take that test and share it. And that makes my sponsor happy. It makes me happy. Please do that today. If you already done it, no worries. You can still help by throwing me a couple bucks. Throw me $10, throw me $25 a month. Patreon.com/SharpeWay. If you like what I'm doing and you want me to keep doing it, you want me to keep growing my team out and keep doing this more and more and have better and higher quality, that takes cash. I got a day job I'm trying to still work at. So I do this in the evenings, trying to make some extra cash here if I can, so we can move this thing forward and make this work even better. Patreon.com/SharpeWay. Larry, I love you. I don't have the cash. No worries. Like, comment, share. That's the easiest thing. It's free. Doesn't even take 5 minutes. Click that button. Click the hate button, the sad button, the happy button, whatever button. Click that button, comment, share it with others. Still works just as well. Any of those will help us move forward. So I appreciate anything that you can do. I do appreciate that. Yes. So Brandon asks, if your home gets taken from eminent domain, does the government pay you? Yes, they pay you. It depends. If they condemn it and take it, no. If they take it, then yes, but it's what's called just compensation. Well, what's that? It's what they decide. That's what it is. It's what they decide. That's the problem. So, yes. Paula says it was a good survey. People should say it. I agree. Thank you so much, Paula. I agree. Yes. Damn, I wish you were president. Thank you, Jeff. That would be nice. But New York didn't want me as governor, so I'm far away from president. But thank you. I do appreciate that. I do appreciate that. Yes. With the government overreach, we are already seeing, how can anybody want to increase government control? This is what I can't understand about socialists. And this is a point. This is a very big point, Jan. I like this point. For those who are watching who are more progressive or left-leaning, I would ask you to look at New York. New York is run by the Democratic Party. The governor, the executive branch, legislature, judiciary, all run by Democrats. And it is it's basically as, I think, as left or as progressive as a state could be in theory. I mean, right now in America, probably the most progressive state, maybe California is more. But if you look at those two states, right now in New York State, some of you may have seen this when I talked about this last week, my governor has decided that he can decide, and this is not hyperbole, this is real. He's already passing laws in the budget that says he can decide how much profit a private organization can make. And he's doing it with nursing homes. They can only make a 5% profit. He's also deciding how much a private company can charge. Yes, internet companies have to provide a package for $15 per month. That's literally what he does. So we're controlling how much profit a business can make, the pricing of a specific product or service, and of course, education is a right in my state. So you get educated, it's a right. Also, I mean, you add all this, We have a massive budget where people who are in trouble, we spend lots of money on the homeless. We put them in hotels. So we do. I'm not joking. We put them in hotels. So not just that, but we restrict how each individual business opens up. We decide which business can open up, when they can close. I'm not joking. We've just decided that if you're a horse racing establishment, you can open up at 20%. If you're a comedy club, I think it's 50% or 25%. I forgot which one it is. But each one's separate. We decide. The government decides how you can open. It also decides how late you can stay up, right? So now I think restaurants is midnight or 1 o'clock. They decide all these things. So with all of these controls, to your point, Gene, are New Yorkers happier? No, we're not. We're not happier. We're miserable. And many of us are leaving as fast as we can. So it's not working. Why would you think that's the answer? Democrats in charge isn't magic. I get if you're progressive, you want people to be more left. It makes sense. I totally understand that. You're progressive. You want people to be more left. Okay. Look what the Democratic Party is doing for you. As it on top of it begins to alienate as many people as we want. So yeah, absolutely. So Purple Nerf says, all this is whining. None of you are going to do anything about it. So I'm out of here. Bunch of uses that wait. You are incorrect, Purple Nerp. I actually did. I actually was with the people in Utica trying to stop it. We did lawsuits. We fought. We did, just like the family on the border. We fought. We got people to know about it. I'm telling people about eminent domain. A lot of people don't know about it. I talk about it all the time. So what are we doing about it? We're getting more people to care about it so that when this happens again to you, you won't think you're alone. That's the most important thing. When you think you're all alone and it's just you, you don't want to fight. It's overwhelming. I can't fight the government. And you're right. You probably can't. But now it's you and hundreds, if not thousands of others. Yeah, you can. Now you got a shot. That's what we're doing. Purple Nerp. That's what we're doing. We're doing something. You aren't. You're just being mad. It's fine. You can be mad if you want to. Just come back. But we are doing something about it. I appreciate it. So Sam says, our church ran into a similar problem because that section of Rochester was a preservation district. Oh, we couldn't even paint without a certificate of appropriateness. Ooh, I like, look at these names. Look at these names. Declaration of taking, certificate of appropriateness. Sam, I don't know if you can paint your house. You better do paperwork. See if you can get your certificate of appropriateness. Do you have that? You don't? Psh, clearly, it's not appropriate. You don't have your certificate. Yes, I love that. So as long as we have the appropriate government paperwork, we're good. Dustin says landmarking sounds pretty subjective too. Yes. And again, just to be clear, I'm not against landmarking if you decide that you want to landmark your land. It's your land. Landmark it all day. No worries. But how do you get somebody else's? Right? That's the piece. Yes. Jimmy says they should have refused to sign. I agree. But the problem is, this is the way it works with the government. When the government gives you an out, whatever the out is, right? They give you an option. Here's look, we're generous mobsters. So we're going to give you a way out of this thing. You know, you're going to lose only 50%. Just 50%, Jimmy. That's all you're going to lose, 50%. And you go, I don't lose 50%. No. Oh, we got to do this the hard way then. And then they punish you. So the government will always punish you for not making things easy for the government. Now, you might say, well, Larry, I'm just going to court. That's my right. Yes, the government will always punish you for using your rights. And the biggest example, and I'm not making that up. That's if you use your rights, the government punishes you. So I'll give you the best example of this is our justice system. Yes, I'm doing air quotes. Our justice system. So I get arrested and they say, Larry, you know, we're going to throw the book at you with 700 charges, even though they know 500 won't even stick. They throw 700 charges at me and say, that's a bazillion years in jail, but just, you know, cop to this and that, and we'll give you 2 years. And I go, I'm not going to cop that. I didn't do any of it. What? Yeah. I have a right that if that a trial, you know, before my peers. I'm innocent unless I'm proven guilty. Okay, good. You're going to play hardball? Now they punish you. And what do I mean by that? Okay, they punish you because he was going to give you 2 years. And whatever I did, whatever bad thing, the prosecutor thought 2 years was a good answer. That he was okay with that. That was the punishment. But now that I go to court, he's going to ask for 10 years. And the judge is going to be like, okay, yeah, makes sense. Why? Well, we'll give him 2 years because it's easier on the court. So I use my rights and I got to spend 8 more years in jail? That's how that works? Yeah, you get punished for your rights. Yes. But it gets worse. You go to criminal court, and let's say I get to stand and defend myself, which you would think it is your right if you want to defend yourself, one would assume. So I take the stand and I say, no, Jimmy, I didn't do that. No, I didn't. And I get convicted. The judge will say, oh, you got convicted. So that means you did do it, which means you lied. So I'm attack on more years. That actually happens. That's a real thing. Well, I'm attack on more years. Why? Because I defended myself. So I get punished for defending myself. I get punished for using my rights. So what actually are my crimes? My crimes are heresy. That's my crimes. The other stuff was just 2 years. I pay all the other stuff for being a heretic. How dare I doubt the government, the all-powerful system? How dare I fight that system? You got to pay for that. Hard. And no one cares. If you ask prosecutors, they will say it's totally fine. They should be. They will defend it. Judges will defend it. Everything I'm saying actually happens. Ask anybody you know in law enforcement. They'll say, yep, that's true. And good. Take your punishment and shut up. That's how they think. So yes and yes, you should refuse. But once you refuse, they just take your stuff anyway and then lower the amount they're going to give you. So if you don't have the big dollars to fight, sadly, I get why people surrender. And that was my point with Mr. Purple Nerp, that if more people understand and get behind you, they don't punish you as much because then they look like they're bad. So there is a difference. So anyway, good. Let's see. Paula says, I feel like Americans are getting more isolated and alienated from each other. Yes. Yes. That is the biggest reason I learn more and more libertarian. Thank you, Paula. Thank you. Yeah, but we're jerk too. We're jerks too. It's not just them. I just hope that when the libertarians are jerks to you, that you'll come back here because I try not to be a jerk. I try not to. Yes. So Brian says, thought everybody ran up to take the quiz after it was mentioned here in the chat because it got quiet. Yes, good. I hope you're all taking the quiz. I didn't realize that comment was pinned. It was hiding in the chat. No. Go take the quiz. Yes, I gotta keep my sponsors happy. Take the quiz. Yes. David says Biden wants to suspend the Fourth Amendment to go after guns. Yes, that's right. Yes, Mr. Biden is who's gonna be the Democrat who's gonna protect our civil liberties. Yeah. Well, maybe not. This is the thing. Before I go here, Dave, this is the thing. Democrats are supposed to be about civil liberties. They really are. Like if you see what the platform is supposed to be about, they're supposed to be about civil liberties. Man, they are not. They're not. They're not. So Biden wanted to suspend the Fourth Amendment to go after guns. Hypothetical. The local police would probably have people sign a waiver that allows police to search homes without a warrant. Okay. If they refuse to sign, they'll probably face a charge of interfering with law enforcement, in performance of their duties, and obstruction of justice. Wow. David, you should not be one of them because that's a good idea. When it comes to screwing people, yeah. So you either sign or you're in contempt in some way, shape, or form and do 30 days in jail. So what do you want to do? Jimmy, he's dealing with what you're saying, right? Don't sign. And he's like, good, don't sign, Jimmy. I'm locking you up for 30 days. How about that? Lose your job, lose your friends, can't go to work, can't pay your bills. How about that? You're going to sign now? This is mafia extortion. But you're right. Yes. Paul says, I grew up in a landmarked community where almost everything was in the National Historical Register. Ooh, there we go. If the village did not like the color of the trim of your house, you had to change it. Wow. It was like a homeowners association, but without the lawn care service. At least you get lawn care with that one, right? Yeah, I like that. It was and is beautiful town, but if you liked any color that did not fit with Tudor style home, you out of luck. I was torn growing up, style versus property rights. But again, Paula, at least if it's obvious, if you're choosing to do it on your own, and if when you buy the property, you know, I'm okay with that. I really am. As long as before I buy, they go, look, it's landmarked. And if we don't have to color up your trim, you're changing it. And if I go, you know what? I love the community. Fine. I'm good. Fine. Some people want to live that way. Good on them. I'm all about people being happy, right? If you voluntarily give up your rights, okay, they're your rights. The problem is when I take them. You know what I'm saying? That's the issue. Yes, when I take them. And I should never be taking them. If you want to surrender them, I would always say, I would like you to not surrender them. But if you want it, it's still yours. And Paul says, yes, my parents knew. Absolutely. Yes, without question, right? You can make sure that you should be able to be happy the way you want to be happy, whatever that is. All good. Christine says, Democrats are about power, control, and line their own pockets. Rhinos suck too. I know conservatives. I like that. Rhinos suck too. That's good. This is the issue that I really believe. And I see it in so many people who are in power, is that once you're in power, many times things change. And they change particularly when people have not had power before and or have not fallen down before. The best of a person who you want in power, as a general rule, there's always exceptions, but a general rule is someone who is human enough to realize that they're just human and has fallen down enough times to where they know that anybody can fall down. Because what you want to be in a perfect world as a leader is very hard on systems or environments and very easy on the people within those environments, right? That you want to give the people the benefit of the doubt, not the system, right? You want to always be tweaking the system to make it better, to have better outcomes with better systems. And I don't mean locking down more. Sometimes it means opening up more. And I'll give you an example I give when I coach small business owners, and I try to help them build their business. And very often when I come in, there'll be a boss or a group of people who are like, yeah, you know, we've been cracking the whip and it's not working and we've been losing people and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, you have a couple of lieutenants, right? I call lieutenants, meaning captains or people who are, you know, second in command. Like, yeah. We got this manager and that manager. And, you know, we talk to them every day and we check them every day. And I said, stop. What? Yeah. Give them more freedom. Never do I go, you know what it is? Your fist isn't tight enough. That iron fist isn't irony enough. No. What I say is, time to let them go. Open them up. Let them fly. And when they fall down, pick them up. And this is shocking. I said, aren't they messing up now? Yeah. Okay. They're messing up now. So what you're using now isn't working. You're losing people, right? Yeah, we have turnover. I know. So stop that. It's not working. How about instead, give these guys more power and authority. See how they do. Some of them will fail. In fact, they probably both will fail. When they do, pick them back up. Are they still angry? Do they fail again? Fire them. Do they instead get up and go, thanks, boss. I'm going to try again. Keep them. Train them so they can grow. That's a good system, right? And you keep tweaking that system to make it work. Do we need to give more freedom, less freedom? Do I have to give people different jobs? What do I have to do for my system? And then you're nice on the people. But when the people break the system, you get rid of them. That's a much better way of running a business. It's a much better way of running your life, right? Much better way of that. Completely think so. So, yeah. All right. Paul says, I feel like Biden knows what it's like to fall down, but he's on a legacy trip and doesn't want to get off it. This piece I've said before, Paula, you and I on the same page here. I think what Biden wants more than anything else is something with his name on it, whether that's a healthcare bill or a cop reform bill or a something bill. You know, he basically wants his equivalent of Obamacare, right? Whatever his equivalent is, he wants whatever. Biden care, Biden, I don't know, whatever it is. He wants his name on something. I agree. He's been working hard for this. He's run for president 3 times. Now he's got it. He's not walking away without something. I think you're completely correct. I do think he knows how to fall down. I said all the time, he does have empathy. I think that's true. He has a lot of empathy, 100%. The issue is, what is he trying to achieve? Right? In the long run. That's the issue. So, all right. But Democrats say denying public assistance to immigrants is racist. However, everything Democrats are against is racist. Look, I understand the argument. I just disagree. Right? And the problem, and the reason is a lot of immigrants aren't brown. Right? Many are, but many aren't. Most immigrants we have that are undocumented or illegal in this country are those who overstay visas. It's like 40% or something like that. And many of them are from Europe or from Asia. So they aren't all brown. So I would say all of them have the same opportunity, right? No public assistance, and go to the facility, get checked out. Are you a bad guy or not? And what winds up happening with this, because of how it always works, and I go back to business often, if you create a system where people who are undocumented can go to get documented, and maybe it's a 2-week quarantine or whatever is the appropriate rule. I don't know what that would be, but whatever it is, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. And those who go, and all of a sudden now they're legal, they've got documents, they pay their taxes, don't worry about it. There's always early adopters. There's give or take 12 million, give or take, undocumented workers or legal immigrants in this country, give or take. We don't know exactly how many. Maybe 500,000 decide to do it. Maybe that much. That's not majority. That's even close. That's 1 in 24 who decide to do it. Okay, great. They go. They come back. They're now legal. They're not scared of the cops anymore. They can't be blackmailed by Bad Pablo anymore. They can't do that anymore. Now they're good. The others will see that and go, oh, wow, that's a good deal. I'm gonna go do that. And the rest start doing it. And that might take several years. That might take 5 years. Who knows? But eventually the vast majority of them will actually get paper, get documented, be legal, and start paying. But some won't. So now, when the authorities think, who's the bad guys here? They can go in and start saying, hey, how you guys doing? Looking for Bad Pablo. Well, when it's an illegal community of immigrants who are all undocumented, they don't want to talk to law enforcement. They're gonna get booted. But now they're no, I'm legal. I got my orange card. I'm good. I'm paying my taxes. I am not on public assistance. Look at me. I'm good. Where's Bad Pablo? Right there. Apartment 1C. That's Pablo right there. And the cops can go get him. And the cops will start going around and finding the people who are undocumented because they'll be the bad guys. That's how it'll work. It'll actually make law enforcement's job easier if you do it right. And it won't be racist because it won't just be Bad Pablo. It'll also be Bad Pavel and bad, I don't know, whoever, Bad Paul. It'll be bad people from all over the place. It won't just be Bad Pablo. It'll be people from all over the place. And there's bad people from all over the place. It'll be bad Eastern Europeans, bad East Asians, bad whatever, Canadians. Are there bad Canadians? I'm not sure there are any bad Canadians. But if it's one bad Canadian, then that guy or gal, it'll be a guy. It won't be a guy. It'll be a guy. Then they'll get that guy. That's all I'm saying. So I thank you for that, David. I think you're right, but I think you can solve that problem, and it cannot be racist. Absolutely. So Brian says Biden aid. That's not bad. See, that'll be something. He'll like that. I love that. There we go. See, that's a good deal. I like that. I like Biden aid. It's great. All right, guys. I'll say thank you a lot for this evening. Again, giving me so much time and energy. I appreciate it. So much of a good discussion. I hope it was interesting, the eminent domain piece. It bothered me. And not only did it bother me that government has that much power, but also that the little guy can't fight back. But thirdly, that Biden's doing it too. He's not the savior that people thought he was going to be. Without question, power is power. And we've got to remove the power of the government so that it can stop being used against us. That's really the answer. Guys, have a great night. I will see you all. I am going to be doing later this evening, where I'm ending it now. I'm going to be doing an Instagram live at around 10 p.m. Eastern. If any of you are around, I'll be doing Instagram live. So hopefully we'll see some of you there. The rest, I will see you all tomorrow.